Okay, thank you very much, folks, for joining me once again on yet another episode of Book Talk. I would like to apologize for being away so long. It's been like over a month, maybe closer to a month and a half since I've made a new video. I could give you a whole list of reasons. Spend the next 15 minutes giving you a whole list of reasons why, but I'm just going to sum it up with two words: life happened. Life happened. Okay, so we're gonna try not to do that again, and we're gonna try to keep churning these videos out every single week from here on out. Okay, now with that in mind, the question for today is, why did I walk away from the religious theme? Now, if you recall, when I first came up with the idea to create my own band of superheroes back in the summer of 2011. I needed to find a way to distinguish my superheroes from all the other superheroes. There are so many comic book, movie, and TV show superheroes out there, and with me being brand new at the time, I was thinking to myself, what can I possibly do to make my superheroes different than all the other superheroes out there? And what I decided to do is I decided to make their theme religious. You know, I named chapter one, excuse me, not chapter, episode one, Mark of Cain. I named episode two, History of Dragus. And I named episode three, Sanctuary of the Devil Worshippers. And three of the four Night Crusaders I got their names from the Bible. Night Crusader Michael, Night Crusader Mary, who I ended up changing her name to Maria because I think Maria's more badass and Mary is more motherly. So Night Crusader Maria, Night Crusader Simeon, and then we have the one Crusader whose name did not come from the Bible, which is Night Crusader Layla. And then you may also recall that originally their names were the Dark Holy Rollers, the Satan Killers. And my original purpose for them was they were going to be kind of like these moral crusaders, fighting for the religious right. And just for the record, when I say right, I mean right as opposed to wrong, not right as opposed to left. There's nothing political here. I wasn't even thinking about politics when I made this. So when I say religious right, I mean what's right religiously as opposed to wrong religiously. So that's what the Night Crusaders were going to be fighting for. Well, that's what the Dark Holy Rollers, Satan Killers, was going to be fighting for. And you see these NCs on their shirts. It was originally going to be DHR. Capital D, capital H, capital R, small Z, and then Satan Killers. Capital S, capital K, small Z. It was a really, really silly thing. And while in the summer of 2011, that name sounded like the most awesome name in the world to me. By the spring of 2012, when these stories were really starting to develop, because because between the summer of 2011 and the spring of 2012, I was really starting to come up with a lot of great ideas for these stories. These stories were really developing pretty nicely. One day, I honestly think it was April. I honestly think it was April of 2012. Don't quote me on that. It was definitely the spring of 2012. I think it was April. I was on a train one day. I was on a train in Chicago, riding the train from my south side home in Chicago to my north side hospital job. And I was reading one of the manuscripts, and I was reading the part where, oh man, the Dark Holy Rollers were coming to the rescue. And I stopped reading for a second. I said, I can't use this name anymore. This name is ridiculous. This name is ridiculous. I couldn't see myself putting that name out there as the name of my superhero. So I couldn't take it anymore. So I ended up changing their name to Warriors of Light, which they had. That was the name they had until the summer of 2018, when I changed their name to what they are today, which is the Night Crusaders. And once I decided to walk away from the religious theme, I changed the Mark of Cain to Cult of Stephen, which changed the Cult of Stephen. I changed the History of Dragus to History of Dragon, which eventually changed the Realm of the Invader. And I changed Sanctuary of the Devil Worshippers to Sanctuary of the Demon Worshippers to eventually Sanctuary of the Dark Light. And I decided that episode 2 and 3 were always meant to be one continuous story. Ever since they were first conceived in the summer of 2011, they were meant to be one continuous story. But it wasn't until the summer of 2018 that I decided to name both of them History of Dragon. Originally, only episode 2 was called History of Dragon. But when I decided to name episode 2 and 3 History of Dragon, that's when I had to give the part of episode 2 a new name, and that's when I started calling it Realm of the Invader. Okay, now that wasn't the only reason. That wasn't the only reason I walked away from the religious theme. Another reason I walked away from the religious theme is as the stories were developing and thus the characters were developing, I started to realize that, you know what, the places that these stories are going now, it's just not appropriate. It's just not appropriate for religious warriors. And also, while I'm on that subject, there's another thing I wanted to point out. I decided sometime in 2012, maybe 2013, I decided that I wanted my superheroes to be flawed people. I did not want them to be perfect people. I wanted them to not always know what the right thing to do is, because having superpowers doesn't automatically make you know what the right thing to do is. Sometimes you got to struggle with it. It's a mental psychological struggle. That's not a physical struggle. Your superpowers do not tell you what's right and what's wrong. So I wanted my superheroes to be flawed people. I did not want them to be the ultimate good. No. I wanted them to be flawed human beings with superpowers. So and also I also wanted them to be complex characters. Hey, here goes something fun. Hey, those of you who have read Realm of the Invader, and I know some of you who have read Realm of the Invader, I'm willing to bet money that there's something you never picked up on. One thing that Realm of the Invader mentions more than once is that Night Crusader Layla. Okay, you ready? She is bisexual. And it is mentioned in Realm of the Invader. I bet you didn't pick up on that. I challenge you to read this story again. There's at least 3 or 4 times in this story where the narrator mentions Layla's bisexuality. Now mind you, he never uses the word bisexual. But he does point out that she is bisexual. So if you didn't catch that, I challenge you to read this book again and find the 3 or 4 times in that story where the narrator mentions that. So, that's just one of many ways I wanted to make them complex characters. And by the way, there's also a scene where Cyrus and Kayla, the 2 alien warriors that helped the Night Crusaders become the Night Crusaders. Well, there's 2 different occasions in the story where the narrator points out that that Night Crusader Layla, she's attracted to Kayla sexually, physically attracted to Kayla. Again, he doesn't spell it out. You have to read between the lines. Okay, so that's some of the reasons that I walked away from the whole religious thing. But maybe another reason is I myself am not religious. Matter of fact, I walked away from religion long before 2011 when I conceived of the Night Crusaders. So I mean, I believe. I believe in God, but I just don't believe it's the same God that you find in Western religions. But I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. All I'm going to say is that these are some of the reasons that I walked away from the religious theme. There might be other smaller, more insignificant reasons, but those are pretty much the major reasons I walk away from the idea of doing the religious theme. So thank you for joining me here, and make sure and please click the link below to the website for Sanctuary of the Dark Light. Read the free chapter of the book on the website. You click the links to the other two Night Crusader series books. All the Night Crusader series books have a free chapter on the website that you can check out before you decide whether or not to buy it. I hope you do. It's an adventure that is a post-apocalyptic superhero adventure that you are sure to enjoy. And thank you very much for joining me here today, and join me again in the near future.